Welcome to episode 12 of A Knitter's Suitcase podcast. This is Daniela, I'm your host, and I'm talking to you from my home in Perth, my crazy crafting corner, which is always a mess. Let me know how your crafting corner is, but mine is tidy only for 5 minutes after I've sort of, decided to tidy it up. And I'm glad you're here. If it's the first time, if you're coming back, I'm so glad you're here. And I am blown away by the fact that this is my first podiversary today. It's been a year since I first started podcasting, and it feels unreal. These years ran away, it flew away like crazy, so very fast. But it's been really fabulous. And I was just thinking earlier on, I'm sure that turning up on YouTube to talk about on other social medias to talk about my passion for knitting has been a game changer in terms of how I have managed to sort of settle down in this new life. I've moved over here from the UK only 1.5 years ago, and I would have never expected to make so many friends, create so many connections, not only in person here in Perth, but in Melbourne, in all over the world really, through my presence here on YouTube. So I am so grateful, really grateful from the bottom of my heart for each and every one of you who's watching and who spends, some time with me and feels so, kind as to subscribe or comment or just like or just be there. Thanks so much. And I've got in mind a couple of things that we are going to talk about later on to celebrate this extraordinary 1 year what shall we say, deadline or anniversary. Well, going back to the usual housekeeping I do at the beginning of the podcast, I am Daniela, as I said. I've got an email address for this podcast in case you want to reach out to me, which is aknittersuitcase@gmail.com. And A Knitter's Suitcase is also the name of my account on Instagram, which is the medium where I'm most active. It's the same on Threads as well, but I rarely use it, I'm afraid. And it's the name of my little shop on Etsy, where I sell handmade project bags full of colors, full of joy, very whimsical. I think that's probably a good adjective to describe my style. There on Etsy. What else? I am on Ravelry too, though I feel a bit ashamed about talking about Ravelry because I'm not very bad at keeping my projects up to date. Anyway, I'm DanyUK on Ravelry. And I think that's more or less everything. So it's been a while since my last podcast, just because Christmas holidays, school holidays, falling back into routine. Well, a bit of a new routine every school year. The afternoon activities for my children change, and so I feel now I'm a bit more settled and I managed to carve some time to chat with you. I was really looking forward to that. The usual sort of structure of my podcast is the typical one. So I'll talk about first thing what I'm wearing, then my finished object, my works in progress, some ideas for my future project. I'll touch briefly on what's new in my shop, and the last section will be about lots of lovely things that have come into my life basically since December, and that bring me a lot of joy, and I want to share with you. Okay, so what I'm wearing. This is the pure top by Daku, who is the very talented designer behind the Bluebird Box brand and the podcast by the same name that you find here on YouTube. You can find a link in the description box below, where I usually enter all the details about what I'm talking about. And I test knitted this one for Anna last year. It is a lovely shape, a boxy fit with dropped sleeves, and I particularly love the detail here on the sleeves, on the shoulders. I think the shoulder construction is actually one of the elements that tends to draw me to a design quite a bit. Maybe because I think being close to your face is one of those elements that will be noticed quite a lot when you wear a garment. I don't know if it's true. So yeah, I knitted this garment in Lion brand Truebu, which is, I'm reading from my knitting journal, which is a 100% rayon from bamboo. So it is a quite cool yarn to wear in summer, but it is also very, very, very drapey, which probably is something that quite suits this style. But at times I feel like it's even a bit too drapey. So if you are a person like me who's who is a quite loose knitter, I recommend you swatch and you try smaller needles than usual, because when you block it, it tends to grow, and it will carry on growing when you wear it. Anyway, the top is fabulous. It's quite a relaxed knit after you've sort of left this top section where all the increases are, and it's a great, very contemporary sort of shape that I really recommend you try. Anna, of course, is on Ravelry too, and you can see many other beautiful designs of hers on her page. So in terms of finished objects, I have just 3 and not very big finished objects to share with you. But again, not all months in our life are the same. Not all weeks we manage to knit just as much. So I will go with the flow and just share what I've got. So the first object is actually an accessory, which is something I don't do all the time, to be honest, and in particular is a pair of mittens. Here is the photograph. Now, my sister-in-law, who is the recipient of those mittens, had complained to me a lot in the past years about how cold her hands would get in winter. This is in Italy, where I'm from, not here where I live, because I've never worn gloves here. Honestly. So I thought I'd try to create for her, a pair of really, really toasty mittens. And that's what I decided to try. The pattern is actually called Toasty Mittens by Melissa Schwartz. The pattern is on Ravelry, but the link takes you to her blog, which is blusterydaisy.wordpress. I will add all the details below, as I usually do. So it was an experience for me because it's a technique I've never used. So they are thrummed mittens. This means that at regular intervals in your knitted fabric, you sort of trap with a specific way of holding them locks of fiber, locks of basically non-plied, non-spun fiber that create a lot of fluff on the inside of the mitten, as you can see here. When I finished one of them and turned it inside out, it actually looked like a little snowy Christmas tree, I thought. Now, with time, of course, the locks inside will mat, will felt, and they are supposed to create like an internal layer of, you know, very warm wool. And to make them even warmer, I created them in Let Lopi, these two colors that are leftovers from my Anaras sweater, the test knit I made last year for Susanna Kartinen. There is a specific episode where I talk about that, and I'll write it down. So I must say the experience was definitely of knitting them was definitely a different one. I found it fiddly. No, I don't think I found the technique itself fiddly. I suppose you need to find your own favorite way of doing the thrumming procedure, because you can either create all the little locks of fiber in the beginning and then knit them into the fabric, or do them one by one. I did a mix of the two things. It's not ideal as a sort of itinerant project. It's not good, you know, for taking places, because you have like all these bits flying all over. But I'm glad I tried them, and if I knew somebody who was in real need of really warm mittens, I'd make them again. It was satisfying in the end, and overall a quite quick project, because you know, I did them with quite big needles. Now, as you know, I've got my trusted knitting journal where I collect all the informations, but as I started them here in December and then I finished them in Italy just before Christmas, I didn't write down all the informations here, but I did exactly as prescribed, as directed in the pattern, so you can find all the informations there. And if I am good, I will update my project page as well on Ravelry. Okay, so that was the first finished object. The second finished object is actually a very random cast on. Now, we went to Italy for the holidays, as we did last year, and we have always done since leaving the country. But on my way back here in January, I found myself not having, not having a good travel project to work on the airplane. I did have something that I'll show you later, but it's not ideal, and I just wanted something very relaxing and satisfying and not bulky or anything. So I just went on Ravelry, and on a whim I cast on the Colette scarf by Sari Nordlund. Now, I have been wanting since forever to knit something by Sari. She is, I mean, saying that she's talented is, you know, a very, very small way of describing the fantastic artworks that come from her hands. She's very prolific. She produces so many patterns, and most of them are quite complicated, very textural, lots of cables. I couldn't go on something too complicated. Again, my brain was a bit tired and overwhelmed with the whole holiday situation, and I had just to face like a 18 hours trip. So I chose something that looked appealing to me and not too complicated and not a very big pattern. And that's what I got. The beautiful, beautiful Colette scarf that I am now modeling for you. And you must, you know, appreciate the fact that it's over 30 degrees here in Perth. So, you know, I can do that just because I'm under the aircon unit. There it is. Now, let me switch the aircon off. Sorry, you'll hear quite a bit of these. Aircon on, aircon off, but the problem is I hate to be near the unit and I can't do without it at the same time, so it's on, off. So this scarf is a cable motif, has got this cable motif, very simple. It's just, you know, very basic sort of cable, which is which features though also a row of eyelets. So extremely simple. As you can see, it's not difficult stitches, or there's of course a certain increase ratio that you need to you know, pay attention to, because it all starts with a little tip and then it grows until you have a central part where you have no increases, so it's kind of, you know, a rectangular bit, and then you start decreasing again to reach the other tip. The yarn I used is actually a cone that I sort of inherited. Well, basically my mum was given some yarn of a friend who passed away a few years ago. Her daughter was sort of, you know, tidying up her things, found some yarn, and she gave it to my mum. As she knows, there are quite a few crafty ladies in our family. So it is kind of dear to me because it brings memories of this dear, you know, family friend. But it is not my color. It is a woolly wool. I can't show a label or you know, share many details because there are none on the cone, but it's definitely a woolly wool. It has bloomed quite a lot with washing, but it is not my color, as you can tell. You know, gray hair, and now I'm a bit tanned, but my complexion is quite pale. I can't wear this color. So basically my idea was to knit it and give it as a gift to a lady whose coloring would definitely, you know, make it nice for her. But I'm still thinking I may overdye it before giving it to her. I don't know. I can tell that it was a very, very pleasant knit. And now I feel like I want to knit the jumper as well. You may know, if you don't, please go and check Sari's page. She's got a jumper with the same stitch pattern, and I am dying to, you know, try and knit that one for me. So that's something you will see at some point in this podcast later this year. Now, in order to tell you more about this pattern, I'll go on my trusted knitting journal that I've got here. If you follow me, you will have seen I released probably a couple of weeks ago an episode all about my knitting journal, which is my trusted knitting companion. I'm not a technological person. I sometimes knit from the pattern on my phone, but mostly I like to print my patterns, and I like to, you know, write down about my projects in sorry about that. Let me have a sip of my coffee. Just dandelion root coffee, no caffeine, because I'm skittish already even without the caffeine. So this page in particular started with a very different approach to what I usually do. I usually use the knitting page on the journal to record the details you'd put in your Ravelry project. But in this case, as I was about to leave Italy and I had no printer easily, you know, that I could easily use, I started writing down the pattern and copying the chart for it, because it is described in writing and charted. You can choose which one you want to use. On my journal page, so I will just flash it quickly to you, and I will just say that this project, this scarf, came out 135 centimeter long and 18 centimeter deep, so it's quite a small size, though you can sort of personalize it and make the sort of rectangular central piece, the one where you do not have increases or decreases, as long as you want. So this will make the scarf shorter or longer, so it's easily customizable. And in this measure, in this size, it took 60 grams of wool altogether. I believe this is sort of a DK weight kind of yarn, and I used 3.75 millimeter needles for it. Now, you can, in my opinion, just, use, if you are a bit of a confident knitter, you can make this scarf in all sizes with all kinds of yarns in terms of weight. And even, if you want to make the central part, which is in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cables. If you wanted to make this one bigger with 7 or 8 repeats, it isn't very difficult to do. It just takes a little bit of confidence in reading the pattern and adjusting it to your idea, to your plan for that project. So I cast this on the 4th of January, the day we left Italy, and I bound this off on the 9th of January. So that was just 5 days. That's what I mean is a quick project. Yeah, in this page, I also added a sticker of Dubai, because that reminds me, I was working on it along the trip, and it is as it is a gift knit, I am planning to enter it in a knit along that's currently going on, and the knit along is an initiative by Amber at A Lovely Yarn, a podcast I watch all the time because I really like Amber, and the hashtag is Handmade Gift Mal 2024. So these will definitely go in there. That's it. So stay tuned to see the jumper, because that's definitely one thing that'll go on the needles soon. The third finished object I've got here for you is, again, another project that you don't normally see much of on my podcast, and it is a baby knit. There we go. So this is a little dress, and the yoke, I think, already introduces itself because it's a very, very popular stitch pattern. It's the so-called Dahlia. It's the one of the children versions of the Dahlia series, designed by Lenit. Lenit is the brand name, and then the designer has got her own name, of course, which is, I believe, Danish. And as I do not want to butcher her name, I will not say it, I'll write it down here. Now, this is the Dahlia Solo, which is a pattern that, going back to my trusted knit journal again, which is, it gives you basically the option of knitting the yoke into 3 different kinds of garments. So you can have a cardigan, you can have a top, or you can have the dress, as I did in this case. The yarn I used is again a cone. Unfortunately for, I know it's not the most interesting thing to listen to when people can't share the brand or the kind of yarn they've used, but I happened to sort of get into possession of quite a few cones of yarn in Italy, and so I used that. It is basically a fingering weight yarn that I used double. This is just a loose end because I haven't sewn the button at the back in yet, so that it's got an opening at the back with where you're supposed to add a little button. So it's a fingering weight 2-ply wool yarn. I'm pretty sure this is 100% wool in this very nice, in my opinion, apricot color that I loved working with. It's a very woolly wool, definitely not soft and squishy as merino, though after blocking it did soften up quite a bit. And the dress I made is a size 1-year-old. It is a gift for a friend's little baby girl. She will be born, any day now. And I know this is a bit far away in terms of her sort of wardrobe options, but I thought it would be easier for her mom to have a handmade dress to put on her when she's a bit older, because woolen garments can look and feel a bit daunting to care for if you're not used to those fibers, and when the baby is really young there's a lot of washing to do, and I also thought it might be a little bit prickly. It isn't for me, but I don't know, for a little baby. Anyway, it was a very pleasurable knit. Basically, what happens in the top part of the yoke, you do not increase, well, how shall I say that? All the increases you need to get to the right number of stitches for the sleeves and the chest, all those increases are worked within the pattern, within the, creation of these beautiful, beautiful leaves. So it's a very entertaining sort of knit. I knit it from a chart. That's what I prefer. I'm not sure the pattern has got written instructions for the yoke as well. I may write it down if I remember to double check. And and after that it was a very, very, you still have a few increases to make to obtain this sort of a line dress, but it's a very easy job because it's all stockinette. Oh, I did a modification which was on the hem. In the pattern you are suggested to do a folded hem, but I'm never happy with folded hems. I always find they tend to, flare out. Maybe it's just my poor sort of craftsmanship, I don't know. But I don't like them. And after all, you've got ribbing at the neck, you've got ribbing at the sleeves. So I thought that having some ribbing at the bottom too would only be all right. And they are and it is simply bound off in pattern. Really quick and really fun knit. I used for the size 1-year-old, I used 143 grams of yarn. So in my case, fingering weight held double. And though my swatch was, because I've been a good girl, I've swatched. So my swatch was 1 stitch fewer than the required number of stitches. Still, I somehow managed to obtain the measurements that were requested. So I got to use 143 grams of yarn. Now, I have actually used this pattern, which I think goes up to something like 10 or 12 years old, because I already owned the pattern. But as the Dahlia is a whole series of patterns for adults, in different yarn weights, etc., just for your information, there is a version which is called Lil Dahlia Solo, which uses fingering weight yarn and allows you to make a 0 to 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1 year old, 2 year old, 4 year old, and sizes of this same design. What's different also is that together with the top and cardigan and dress, you also have an option for a romper on that one. So if you look for a really entertaining knit to gift a little baby, I highly recommend that. If you've watched my episode about the knitting journal, you'll know that I've got a page for it that I had a lot of fun creating. There it is. So in this case, I have done a bit of collage, sticking here a photograph of some flowers that I really liked. I have drawn the schematic, adding, you know, the sizes. I have written here the little note about the, you know, same pattern in lighter weight yarn. And I've written about my modification. I also have written down a couple of knit-alongs that I'm planning to join with this project, which are, again, the handmade gift Mal 2024 by Amber that I mentioned earlier, and also another make-along by another podcaster that I often watch, who is Stephnie at Edible Thoughts Makes, who has got the Make It Again Mal 2024. So basically anytime, any project that is a second, third, or multiple version of a pattern you've already made can be entered there. And actually, with regard to this one, this is my third Dahlia. That makes me think of my friend Marina at Strawberry Patch Podcast. When I said I was making this one, she started telling me how many she had made, and I think she's done like 11, 12, I don't know. Anyway, I made a lovely, I may have a photograph to show, a lovely sort of pistachio green in cotton yarn for my daughter as a top. And I also made a cardigan for a daughter's friend. I think that was something like 6-year-old in a wool and mohair sort of combination of yarns in blue. So this is my third one, so it's perfect for this make along. I must say about my journal, you are all very, very kind people, because nobody pointed out to me that I have misspelled the word Dahlia. So it's not DHA, but it's DAH. So if I was still at school, I would have failed miserably with a lot of shame my spelling test. Sorry, that's not my English is not my first language, and you know, as you are so kind to put up with my dodgy pronunciation and, you know, use of words, you are, you know, putting up with my misspelling as well. Okay, thank you. Okay, so one of them is here. I may have mentioned it in some previous episodes. No, maybe I've just shared it on Instagram, but So this is a shawl I started in December, and I'm carrying, you know, forward to the new year from 2023. And it's a West knit shawl because I had hit a little bit of a hard patch with my knitting in December, and I just wanted something relaxing and satisfying, and, you know, something that gives you all the happiest vibes in a very quick and immediate way. I find stripes for me are that most of the time, but I didn't want to make only stripes. So I cast on a very interesting and happy version of stripes, which is the Painting Bricks shawl by Stephen West. Stephen West is always a guarantee for a fun knit. So now I'm afraid I can't show these to you in very well because, and this is also the reason why I've stopped knitting on it a little bit, it's all very, very scrunched up on a cable, which is definitely not long enough for it. As you can see, this is basically also a scrappy project because I have started mainly inspired by some colorways in my advent calendar swaps that I had made with some friends. And particularly in the first few days of the calendars, I found a lot of blues that I was terribly attracted to. So this one in particular in my calendar by Deb, and then other colors that came to me from, you know, in other ways, and I was loving this sort of color combination. I have added some mohair, some blue mohair here, which this is a Katia mohair, those small, you know, cylindrical sort of, I don't know how to say, they're like spools of mohair that Katia yarns make. And I have added some touches of purple or lilac or violet that I had left over from other projects, a little bit of aqua, that is another of my favorite colors, while the white or better cream color I'm using for the sort of, you know, main color is a yarn that I actually bought in 2022 to try and start the, you know, shawl mystery knit along that Stephen always does in September. In that case, it was twists and turns, and it didn't work for me. I've spoken about it more than once on the podcast here, so I've still got the yarn for that, and I've used some of it, a pistachio color on a top and on a shawl, and the third color is a little bit of a wrong purchase really, because it's a bit of a it's like a gray, it's something in between a gray and a dark beige color. And again, beige is not quite my color, I've realized. So it's there in the drawer, and I'll see what I'll do with it. But I really like the white. It is a beautiful, beautiful yarn because it's mulberry blue-faced Leicester, 85% blue-faced Leicester and 15% silk. And it's Melbourne 4-ply by Eden Cottage Yarn, who is a dyer in the UK. I have a page for it in my 2024 diary. There it is. So as you can see, I have added the label, and I had fun coloring in some of the details in the label, these cute flowers. So this is a just a few notes about it. Again, I think this will end up being a present as well. Big present, honestly, because, you know, it's a big shawl. But as far as I am now, which is the border actually, it's been such a pleasant knit. It didn't feel like a very, tiresome, big, hard to carry around project. Not at all. I have enjoyed every stitch, so it doesn't feel like, too much to gift. I think it's, and the person who will get it has already seen it and she loves it. She doesn't know it's for her. Actually, I decided to give it to her after she saw it and she expressed her admiration. And she's been very good to us, so she definitely deserves a really, really nice present. And now the border, if you remember the pattern, I will add a photograph, has got like a chevron motif. So the number of stitches that has of course increased regularly from the beginning, is increasing at a definitely higher rate now to obtain that shape. So it means that I will end up with about more than 700 stitches. It's a lot, so I really need the appropriate cord for these needles to be able to carry on, and I'm planning to go and buy them soon. And what else did I want to say? I love it. I love cuddling it. That making this shawl has given me, is sort of working as an encouragement to me to start a 50/50 triangle wrap, because you hear about that pattern everywhere, and a lot of people feel like it's daunting to have to have so many stitches on the needle. But from what I heard, and that is where I'd be aiming, you can do a 50/50 triangle wrap with 2 skeins of 2 colors and 2 skeins of the other 2 colors, so 4 skeins altogether, if you cast on 230 stitches. So come on, 230 stitches is nothing compared to this shawl. So that's gonna go on the needles soon too. Then the other shawl that I'm absolutely loving is a project that has been on my wish list for quite some time. Actually, we sort of expressed the desire to make it together, I think in June or July last year. And when I say we, I mean myself and Gaian of the Perfect Pairing podcast. She's a very good friend of mine, so if you haven't watched her podcast, go and check it out. She's recently been to Vogue Knitting Live, so she's got lots of lovely stories to tell about that. Anyway, we fell in love with this pattern. We decided to buy it when the designer was having a charity sale, so it was also very, very worthwhile, cause. And we also got some yarn at Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show when we went together to do it. But we decided to start now at the beginning of February. But when I got to swatching, I realized I wasn't really inspired by the yarn I had got, which was a pity because it's beautiful yarn. I can actually show it to you. Only one thing. So my choice had gone for these 3 colors of mohair silk, hand dyed by Maximu Yarns, who is a young gentleman from Melbourne. I believe I'm saying it right, yeah. And I really loved these colors. But probably because I didn't really have a good main color to use them with, and I didn't want to go and buy more. So anyway, I was discouraged to go on with that color combination, and I had a little bit of a think, and when you know. So my final combination of colors is one that I couldn't love more. Let me, there is a little bit of yarn management to do with this project, but there we go. These are my 3 contrasting colors, and this is my main color. There you go. And I adore it. Now, what is the shawl? What is the shawl? It's the Cecil shawl by Joanna. Let me tell you the details because I'm not very good at keeping them in mind. By Joanna Herriott, who is one of the ladies of the Twin Set and Pearl podcast in the UK. Actually, Ruth of the Ruth Loves to Knit podcast has got a knit along going on at the minute for any of their projects, which is run on Instagram with the hashtag TNPYear24. They are really lovely ladies who very often do like charity events and initiatives. So Ruth was very keen to support them, and I am so as I was when I bought the pattern. And yeah, and I'm really happy to know that I can also enter it in that knit along. And there is my project so far. So sorry, I had to do a little break because my phone was telling me there was no more storage space for me, so I had to quickly cancel a few things. Anyway, I was showing you these earlier on before we were interrupted, and this is my progress on the Cecil shawl that I have recently started, and goodness me, I love it so much. You can't imagine. It is so satisfying to knit. Basically, it's all garter stitch, so not particularly tricky in terms of techniques. And these sort of shapes of color that you are that are also overlapping 2 by 2 that you are creating on the shawl are created by holding a strand of mohair in different colors together, and in the spaces where they are sort of overlapping, it's actually 2 colors held together with your main color. It does require a little bit of attention for 2 reasons, in my opinion. One of them being that the pattern is written in such a way that you have your charts to follow all the time, let's say, and to keep track of the color changes. I don't find it particularly difficult because I sort of give myself small tasks. So next so many rows, it's just this, and then I reassess after all those rows. What I find probably the trickiest for me is sort of the yarn management of 2 different strands of mohair together with the main color, which in my case, again, it's a mystery yarn. It is a wool and cashmere blend, so it's a lovely and quite sheepy, very sheepy to smell yarn. Again, I bought that in Italy with no label, so I can't tell you more. And it's a fingering weight yarn. So I find they tend to entangle quite a bit, and I need to be just sitting in my chair and managing the different colors and different balls of yarn carefully not to fall into the tragedy of having to keep to disentangle them. So that's literally the only difficulty that I'm encountering with this pattern, because all the rest is absolutely simple. And I find the beauty and the magical element of this pattern is that you can achieve something really striking with garter stitch, just using different colors and holding the yarns together. And I have made, of course, I have a project page. That's my project page for the Cecil shawl. So I've made a little sort of drawing of the shawl, and I have sort of already decided the placement of the 3 colors, though it's not set in stone, you know, I may change my mind as I go. The mohair yarns that I'm using together with the main color are the black is, it's on the floor, sorry, is a black lana gatto, while the other 2 on the floor again are these sort of lime, how shall we call it? It's a very acid sort of yellow. It's Filcoline Attilia number 255, and the teal, which was a gift from my lovely friend Susan. She's on Instagram at 1001 Stitches, and please do follow her. She test knits a lot, she knits beautiful things, and she is a dyer as well, though she hasn't quite started her business yet, but I think we need to encourage her a bit. So this is the beautiful teal color 289 that she gifted me last year. There was a little bit of a thrill for me with regard to these colorway here, because you need 2 balls, let's say 50 grams of each contrast color, but I had only 1 of these. Luckily, for completely different reasons, I got in touch with a lady in Denmark, hi Hanne, who we decided to do a swap because that's something quite fun that I enjoy doing every so often. And so I realized that she was the perfect person to provide me with another ball of these ones. So thanks so much for sorting out this little issue with me. And yeah, on my page, as you have seen, I have added this fun, cutout from a magazine of these ladies holding hands, because this wants to sort of remind me, and I've written it down on here, of course, the fact that it's I'm knitting it alongside my friend Gayan, and we are having our own special sort of knit along together. It's knitted on needles 3.75 millimeters, and I cast on the 2nd of February. So, well, but with this one, it's a purpose that of keeping things going slowly. So no rush with this one. So next section is just a few words about my shop. As much as I love picking patterns and yarns in fun colors and putting them together, and the Cecil shawl shows that, I also love picking fabrics, fun and whimsical fabrics, and putting them together and sewing fun project bags that are on my shop. So I have just a little collection for you of the latest ones I've made. This is one of my favorite patterns of all. This is the Sassy project bag. Lots of colors again, and A for Artist is the name of this one. Choosing the names is another of my hobbies. And this is a beautiful one that I think it's very nice to start thinking of our Australian autumn, if it ever will come. I like these colors, and I love to think they are autumn colors. They're all lined with pretty prints as well, and they are all padded, and so will stand up on their own like that. If you fold the top down, you can get them to work a little bit as a knitting basket, which is quite handy and quite nice. Yeah, this one is another cute one, another small one that again I find quite sort of suitable for, a bit of a more autumnal mood, and has got pink inside. That's another one I like a lot. So now, as I really want to celebrate this fantastic year, this fantastic 1 year long of podcasting and of making and sharing and cherishing my knits and makes. I am going to offer for the next 2 weeks a 10% discount on all the bags in my shop with the code HAPPY1 that you see written down here. So hurry up, make sure you don't lose the opportunity of grabbing one of my bags with a little discount. Well, very quickly, things that I have really enjoyed in the last couple of months have brought me a lot of joy. Well, some of these are material things. For example, this very generous gift of yarn. There we go. Look at these pretty tones that I got from Alex, my friend in Melbourne. Look at this white speckled yarn. I love this combination. It makes me feel like I want a striped sweater with these. I'll add some other yarn, but this is the inspiration and it's very good coloring for me. So this is a wool from Bendigo Woolen Mills, and it's already caked up. I love that. Thanks so much, Alex. I had another gift from Guyane. She sent me as a sort of Christmas wishing gift these very cute stitch markers featuring plants in pots and cups, and I love them. These are from Obsession Yarns. There was a fifth one, but it's on some other project of mine. Really love this one. And then there's something I have made in a very different craft to me. There it is. Isn't this cute? I haven't made the bow, but at a friend's birthday party, I painted this one at a lovely studio in Perth called Pears on Pottery. I painted this one together with all the other people invited and my daughter too, who came along. And then she had them, well, the lady at the studio put all the pieces in her kiln and baked. Do you say baked? I think you do. You say baked. And I got this one back from my friend once it was finished, and I couldn't love it more. I love the colors, how, you know, they have turned up after the baking. There you go. So cute. So this one will be living here on my shelf in my craft room. And this big boy here, it's a new happy object that I got recently. Just, you know, in our neighborhood there is a group where people promote things that they want to give away because they don't need them anymore. Just give away for free. It's a very generous system, basically just based on generosity and on, you know, being mindful of the environment and reducing our consumerism. So if something you don't need, you give it for free to anybody who wants them. And it's a Facebook group called Buy Nothing. There are others in other parts of the city. I don't know if it's the same in the rest of Australia. So there was a gentleman who was giving away this big basket, which can, you know, has got 2 doors on the sides. And it's at the moment containing all my project bags, not living on the desk normally, but I just wanted to show it to you because I really like it. It was quite dusty, of course, and there are a few bits that, you know, have come undone from the weaving, but I have washed it, I have rinsed it, no problem drying it here because it's 2 million degrees, and now I'm cherishing it very much. And talking about sort of mindful, you know, being more mindful about our purchases, I also want to show you this gorgeous set that was a very happy Christmas gift that I got from my mother and sister-in-law in Italy. So this is a little project bag with a zip. And this is a little book, just a notebook by this, I understand it's a couple. They are called Maremma Gatta. They create the illustrations themselves, and they produce these items using recycled materials. Fun, it's local. Well, not to Australia, but it was local to my mother and sister-in-law when they bought it. And it displays some, you know, personal creativity. The designers are the people who are benefiting of the sales of these products, and they have chosen to use materials which are recycled, and, you know, they've chosen to do something for the environment themselves. So I think there's a lot to enjoy, and this one then is particularly dear to my heart because it's also a gift from our loved ones. Last thing I want to mention for the people in Perth, we are going to have a gathering. All the people in Perth who likes knitting, no matter their level, no matter their skills, no matter, you know, if they belong to an area or another, to a knitting group or another, everyone is invited to join my friend Susan, that I've mentioned already, and myself at Heathcote Reserve here in South Perth. I have a south of the river, not South Perth. All the details are on my Instagram profile, so you're invited to check it there. That will be on the 25th of February. So please come and meet us. It's going to be fun. We had a gathering already in November, and though it was only a few of us, it was really fun. And this time I tend to believe it will be a bigger one. But as you have been so patient and followed me to the very end of this podcast, I also want to reveal you a little secret. So again, to celebrate the joy of being together, of sharing our creativity on this podcast, and, you know, also in person with the people I meet here in Perth. On the first anniversary of the podcast this month, I'm going to announce a little event that will happen online, and I will post another podcast very soon with all the details. So do not miss that. If you are not subscribed yet, I suggest you do it this time. And if you are, thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching and for listening to all my, you know, blah, 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 all my chatting, sometimes a bit, you know, taking a tangent on other things. And thanks so much for the comments you will want to leave, or just for, you know, mentioning me to your friends or on social medias, or just for being here and listening. Really, that's a true gift to me. And yeah, that's all today, folks. I need to go and get my daughter. Big hugs and thanks again. Bye. Happy knitting.